Ah, yes, the fabled DINKS. Dual income, no kids. We have this viral video going around of two people, and I'm just sorry. They look very nice, but yo, this video is nails on a chalkboard to me. We're dinks. We just do irresponsible things. But okay, let's slow down and break down what this is all about. There is an effort, I guess I would call it, to convince people not to have kids. And so you've got lots of people who are putting out these videos talking about how great it is to not have kids. And I'm like, yo, keep doing that, please. Please keep convincing more and more people not to have kids. Now, I know many of you are like, what, Tim? No, why? Well, because I don't want them to have kids. I want you to have kids. I want to have kids. All right. I look at the people who have kids and I'm like, they're doing pretty well. Now, of course, I mentioned in a segment previously that having kids will probably make you more conservative. So in fact, it'd probably be better if they all did have kids. But the end result of these people not having children is just going to be them disappearing from human genetics, human lineage, and their story ends with them. But there is a lot I want to break down here. What does it mean? Why? Why not have kids? Why have kids? Let me first start by playing this video, which we'll get going for you. Here you go. As per usual, we're going to set the sound.
We go to Trader Joe's and workout classes on the weekends.
We're dinks. We get into snobby hobbies like skiing and golfing.
We're dinks. We can go to Florida on a whim.
We're dinks. We're already planning our European vacation next year.
Dinks. We get a full 8 hours of sleep and sometimes more.
We're dinks. We get desserts and appetizers at restaurants.
We're dinks. We can play with other kids and give them back.
We're dinks. We still do it 3 times a week.
We're dinks. We spend our discretionary income on $8 lattes.
We're dinks. We max out our 401ks, Roth IRAs, and HSAs.
We're dinks. We don't use our kids or dog as an excuse to leave a party. We just leave. We're dinks.
I like the last one. It's like, we just leave. Okay, well, I mean, dude, making a comment about someone who's making an excuse has nothing to do with whether or not having a kid is good or being a dink is better. But here we go, baby. Here we go. I just want to point out some of these responses. Wall Street Silver says they should do a follow-up video at 45 when they've spent $200,000 trying to get pregnant years after the optimal fertility age and failing. Ooh, yikes. No, I don't care. Yo, I don't care. Take a look at this. It's from MoneyWise. Dinks earn an average salary of $138,000 a year, nearly 7% more than dual income couples with kids. So what is that? Dukes? But, or yes, kids? Dual income with kids, but are way less likely to own a home. Here's what it means. You know what I was thinking about this? Because these stories are popping up more and more, praising the dink. And I was just like, I'm looking at this couple right here. They're looking at buying a house or whatever. And look how happy they are. And I'm thinking about this video where they're like, we're dinks. We just do whatever we want. And I'm like, but you can always just kind of do whatever you want. And then I see these posts from people with kids and they're like, but having kids is what I want. And that's why I feel like that video of like, we're dinks, we go to parties. It's a cope. Because nobody who is doing what they want needs to make a video talking about how great it is that they're just doing a normal thing, right? Where's the video where guys like, I have kids. I get to teach them things and then watch them imitate me. And it's really heartwarming. I have kids. They love me. And when they grow up, they'll protect me. Like, I feel fulfilled in raising a child and experiencing the joys of childhood once again through their eyes. What else can I say? I have kids and I'm teaching them to be great at sports and watching them accomplish things that I never, watching them achieve things I wasn't able to fills my heart. How many people were like, when I was a kid, I had a hard upbringing. So when I have a kid, I want to have them, I want them to have the opportunities I did not have. So they get to achieve something. Right? It's my point is this. Whether you like your kids or you don't like your kids, it's a normal thing to have or not have kids. I mean, actually, it's not a normal thing to not have kids. It has been the norm throughout history to have kids. What I'm saying is you're doing this thing that is historically atypical, not having kids. And then you're making content where you're like, look how great it is that we're not doing this thing that you do. Well, why though? Are you trying to, like, the only thing they're saying is, if you're thinking about having kids, don't, because our life is better. But you don't see the videos from people who are going around being like, I have all these kids, like how great it is. They're typically just posting videos of their kids and being like, look, we're going on the swing or something. So I started thinking about this. What would you do with your life if you don't have kids? And I was thinking about Bill Maher, because we talked about him last night or a few nights ago on Timcast IRL. Bill Maher, No kids, single, aging. What is his life? He doesn't read the news anymore. He doesn't pay attention. I mean, dude should just go off and retire, to be completely honest. It's this video clip where it's from his show Club Random with Roseanne, and Roseanne calls him MK Ultra. I know all of you know what MK Ultra is. For the 1% of you who don't, it was basically a mind manipulation program from like the CIA. They were trying to find ways to control people's brain. And Bill Maher's like, who's that? And she's like, MK Ultra, it's what you're under, it's the brainwashing. Oh. Then later she mentions Klaus Schwab and he goes, who's Klaus Schwab? And she goes, he's the head of the WEF. And he goes, what's that? Yo, Bill, retire. You know what it is? Dopamine stimulation. But for what point? For what purpose? I look at humans holistically. Humans as a greater than themselves are doing things. What those things become, I wonder. The creation of artificial intelligence, expansion into a spacefaring people. It's not so much about any individual's pleasures, gratifications, family or not. It's about what we all contribute to the manifestation of something greater than ourselves. What I see with these people who are like, I'm a dink, I'm going to go to a party. Dopamine stimulation. Not having kids is just about flicking your dopamine receptor over and over again until you die. And for that, you've contributed nothing. You've become effectively a vestigial component of human civilization, and for that, you will wither and fall off and be forgotten. And that's fine. Do whatever you want. Be happy. But the end result is going to be a course correction. As we see this bifurcation, a hard fork, with progressives and people not having kids, progressives abort their kids or sterilize their kids in certain circumstances, and then thus they're not likely to reproduce. Not only that, but you're going to end up with a lot of these young people and these progressive values where they have atypical desires, which result in not having kids as well. All in all, the trend is massive. People on the right are having kids, people on the left are not. Now, here's what I think may happen. It is true that people on the right are having less kids than people used to, but people on the left are having way less than anyone else now. What this means is the population will dramatically shrink. And at this point, survival will become paramount. And thus, people will start having more and more kids. You know, right now, there's no real risk to humans going extinct. They'll make the arguments about climate change and World War III, but like even with these things, humans are just so numerous, they'll persist, be it a small group of people or whatever, and then eventually growing into a large group of people. So there's no real risk right now for human civilization because we are well fed, we are happy, we are clothed, we are sheltered. And there are certainly people around the world who are poor, but, you know, for its entirety. And this means there's no social pressure at all to have kids. None. Nobody cares. So when these people are praising, jumping up and down, we're dinks, man, it's like kind of like, dude, no one cares. Go be Chelsea Handler and wake up at 6 a.m, do drugs and masturbate. I mean, that's literally what she does. I'm sure that's very triggering for your dopamine receptors. Great. And then when you die, no one will care or remember you. And then what happens is as population shrinks and there become real risks to human civilization, this will see a resurgence in population growth. Population growth will contribute back to the advancement of human civilization towards various technologies. I think AI is going to change everything in ways we can't comprehend, but I look at this like a course correction I don't see it as a bad thing. There are a lot of people on the right who would be like, it's bad that people are adopting these views. And I look at it more just, I'm attached from it. I see a system in place. And when the system becomes filled with, as human civilization expands and we develop new technologies and better ways to treat diseases and produce food, you end up saving a lot of people who normally throughout human history would have died, either eaten by a bear or starved to death. But we kind of figured out how to save them. Oh, you got mauled by a bear? Surgeries. We've saved your life. You're starving? Norman Borlaug. He massively increased the crop yield for wheat. And for this, we can feed you until you're morbidly obese. But this is a deviation and a problem. We've got morbidly obese individuals, people eating too much. And what happens? A natural course correction. I kind of feel like the universe is just fairly perfect. These people who become morbidly obese die. The other people who have no survival mechanism stop reproducing and cease to exist. And the gene pool is shifted back to what it originally was. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It's neither. Some people might argue it's bad that these people aren't having kids, but I'm like, they seem to be happy. Is it bad of me to say that the people who are cheering on the death of their genetics, I'm like, they're happy with their lives and nobody's oppressing them. So what happens is, as the society expands and we start saving the lives of people who traditionally die, those people find ways to not reproduce or die anyway. And so then civilization just has this arm of the leftist progressivism grow off of it and then rot and fall off. So you've got these two paths splitting right and left. The right will keep going and the left will just rot and decay and then cease to exist because they don't reproduce. It's it. It's almost like just a typical course correction in human expansion. And then the future is going to be much more conservative. I believe it'll be fairly classically liberal, but still relatively conservative by today's standards, and studious and honor bound and things like that. Honor based. I think that a lot of the leftist progressivism stuff just can't survive. The Soviet Union only lasted 69 years. So, and to be fair, like Nazi Germany didn't last at all. They got crushed because they were nuts. And but bad things still happen. So I think bad things will happen. But I think what we're actually looking at is, something kind of like a Star Trek future, I suppose. And not the modern Star Trek, more like the Next Generation. But I guess we can only sit back and see and give a shout out to all our dink friends. But we should be thanking them for their sacrifice. You ever watch the show Sliders? There's an episode of, for those that aren't familiar, it's a show where people travel to different dimensions through a portal. They're lost. And the timer goes off and the portal opens and they jump through and they don't know where they'll end up. The funny thing is, like, sooner or later, I think they actually did this. They landed in a volcano planet and they're just dying. But then the portal opens and they leave. But there's one planet where everything's really nice. Everyone's super wealthy. And you can go to any ATM and take out as much money as you want. Because the way it actually works is every time you take out money, you are being entered into a lottery where you get killed. And so as they're pulling all this money out, people are like, wow, that's so honorable of you. That's so noble. And then they're like, wow, I won the lottery. What? You win the lottery just because you took money out? That's crazy. What a great dimension. And then they're like, of course, winning the lottery means you die. You are culled. And that's how they keep the population low. So my point is that everybody in that society was praising those who chose to do this. I think we should have the same view. To all the liberals who abort their children and all of the liberals who don't have kids, we should be clapping for them, saying, thank you for your sacrifice. By sacrificing in this way, the future is going to be Christian and conservative. I guess. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. on the channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.